Welcome back. Episode 26 of Griddyiron Gang. What we got today is a Week 12 recap. As you know, we had 3 games on Thursday night, Thanksgiving Thursday. Starting off with game number 1, we had Buffalo on the road at Detroit. We expected this to be a close game. We talked about it before it took place. And on the Detroit side of things, outside of a few costly turnovers, they might have had their best game of the season. I think they were in this one from start to finish. And a 51-yard field goal with about 23 seconds left. They had this game tied to 25-25, but a little bit too much time left on the clock for Josh Allen to work some of his magic. Game-winning drive started with a 36-yard completion to Stephon Diggs, ended with a field goal with 2 seconds left. The Bills got out of Detroit with a W, 28-25. Really starting off Thanksgiving with a great game. And I don't know, Bills looking like they needed this Detroit trip. 2 wins in Detroit in 5 days after taking 2 losses in a row. So they're getting back on track and staying on pace for that number 1 seed in the AFC. But what'd you see from this game here?
Man, I mean, I think Bill's got a little bit of issues going on. It seems like I think that that arm, the elbow, I should say, is bothering Josh Allen, pretty significantly. He's missing on quite a few throws, it looks like, but it just goes to show, I've been saying it all year, when you get to facing a team like the Bills with Josh Allen or the Chiefs with Patty Mahomes, it's when you need a team like one of those two to put a drive together at the end of the game to go win it or tie it up. I mean, they can do it in a blink of an eye, and that's the scary part about these teams. Is that's why you don't want them to hang around too much. You got to put them away as fast as you can. And I just don't think hats off to Detroit for playing the way they did against them, but they just don't have enough firepower to go toe to toe with them in a game like this. So I think the stat line for Jared Goff, 23 of 37, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns. Only taking 2 sacks. That's pretty much a near perfect game for that guy. So if you get games like that for him, I mean, it's kind of along the lines of Jimmy G, I'd say.
Yep.
Having those type of stat lines with those type of teams that you're going to be looking pretty good, I would think. But the real thing about this game for me is just, man, Jamal Williams is looking like a stud this year, and I think 13 touchdowns now. Just a absolute workhorse, especially in the red zone, down by the goal line. But also Amon-Ra St. Brown, that dude, he's going to be a star in this league for years to come, right? It looks like. So this team is up and coming. They're grinding things out still, but they're going to be a fun team to watch for quite some time once they get some more pieces, and then you get Jameson Williams back in there. Yeah, I'm liking what Detroit's putting together so far and what they're going to be capable of. They're definitely going to be, probably one of the top 2-3 teams in the NFC North for quite some time. They're not going to be that bottom dwelling team anymore. But, it was kind of interesting to see, in the early onset of this game, it looked like, Diggs was pretty frustrated going to the sideline, talking to McDermott. He just wants to be involved every single play. I mean, he's just a true winner. It's not whining, it's not complaining. It's just he knows what he can do and what he brings to a team, and he's just advocating for himself because he knows he can help his team win at any given moment. So, that's what I like about him. He's got a winner's mentality. He's just a dog, and you definitely he's like, him and JJ are, one of the same. Is just you got to force feed them because they're gonna, put great games together regardless, no matter what the defensive looks on them are looking like. But I think on the defensive side of things for Buffalo, I think it was Ed Oliver all the way through. I mean, this dude was just an absolute animal.
He was a monster.
I think he had 6 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, 4 QB pressures, 2 QB hits, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. And that sack coming for a safety as well. So, I mean, that was just – you can't ask for a better game from a defensive lineman than that.
He had to be player of the week on the defensive side of the ball.
Oh, most definitely.
To stick with the Bills, their formula, they kind of got back to what's been working for them. 42 pass attempts for Josh Allen. I think they almost doubled up the pass attempts to rushing attempts. But, excuse me, like you said, to your Diggs point, the attack was heavy pass throughout the game. A lot of those attempts went to Isaiah McKenzie and those other guys early. But I think if you ask Diggs how he would have it, he would want that big catch on the last drive. And,
Most definitely.
the second half, it was really a lot of Diggs featured offensive plays. For the Lions, to your Amon-Ra St. Brown point, I think going into next year, he'll be a solidified top 15 guy, especially if you can get a good quarterback in there. Not that Goff isn't a good quarterback, but you really need another guy to take this team over the hump. You have the weapons to match up with a team like Buffalo. Honestly, I think this is, for me, kind of what I expected from the Detroit team coming into the season, being very competitive. Not so much like they were in that New England game, but definitely more like this game, 28-25 against a top contender, and just not having enough in the end to pull it out. But also, to your Williams point, he was coming into the season as the second back. So Swift has been a little bit of a disappointment coming out of Georgia. He's been riddled with injuries a little bit this season. But Williams, I think, might be leading the league in touchdowns at 13. If not,
he is
right up there. Yeah, he's been dominating this season, and he's been playing pretty well, keeping this offense above water when it has been struggling. So I like what this Detroit team has in store for the future.
Yeah, and it's, to the Jamal Williams point, having 13 touchdowns, I think he's the second guy just behind Barry Sanders in that franchise now to have at least 13 touchdowns in a season for the Lions. So that's good company right there.
That's the most elite of company right there. Well, we can go one legendary running back to another franchise where they had a legendary running back. We can go New York Giants on the road at Dallas, obviously Emmitt Smith. Cowboys in their annual Thanksgiving Day game, and I thought they played pretty well. They do have questions about their run D, but for the second week in a row, Barkley was stifled in that run game. Mm-hmm. The offensive attack has not been clicking these past 2 weeks for New York. They're throwing the ball a lot more with Daniel Jones and not running it as much with Saquon, and it resulted in 2 losses for this Giants team. Cowboys on the other side, I mean, if the offense is going to put up 28, the defense is going to stop the run, and we know what Micah Parsons and those boys can do in the pass defense. This is one of the most dangerous teams in the NFC. I thought this was a very impressive win. The scoreboard is 28-20. The game wasn't that close to me, though.
No, it didn't seem that close. I think Dallas definitely struggled out of the gates. Dak didn't have a great first half, but he came back and proved a point in that second half. But for me, I think if we looked at this game and you have like if this is a Thanksgiving game against Philly or someone with a legit passing attack, I think we would have had a different outcome because Dallas is a team who's very beatable. They're just playing really well right now. And they do have arguably a number 1 ranked defense in the league, obviously, but it's they did well shutting Saquon down. But if you have a better quarterback and a better set of receivers on the other side, they're definitely a team you can pick on at certain points in the game. Diggs can't cover everyone, so it's and then if you can double team or somehow hold up Micah, I know it's a tall task, but if you're able to put a game together and do that, you're gonna come out on top against Dallas. I'm gonna say they're arguably one of, if not the best NFC team outside of Philly, but at the same time, I still don't trust them in the playoffs. I don't trust that organization. And you're still coached by Mike McCarthy, who's gonna let you down at some point.
That's the big question mark. I'm not a big fan of this Dallas offense. They've been playing okay lately. And even though Zeke had a big game, I think it's very important that they have unlocked Pollard this year. Him with the combination of Zeke in the backfield is going to be very beneficial. If CeeDee Lamb, he's been playing well lately. I mean, has still been dropping the ball, has issues in that aspect, but him and Gallup, Schultz, and then they had their backup tight end played very well on Thanksgiving as well. So
yeah,
if they can have I don't expect all 6 guys to play well every game, but if they can have 3 or 4 of those guys play well week in and week out, they're going to be trouble going forward.
What scares me though is, Dallas seems to be clicking very well right now, but I don't see that being a sustainable thing for them going down the stretch. I see the 49ers being a team who is very capable of beating them. I don't think they're going to get a win against Philly this year. They just, when they have to rise to a challenge against a better opponent, they never really show up. And, you can look back to the Vikings game, and I don't think the Vikings are in the category the Dallas Cowboys or Philadelphia Eagles are in right now. But they beat us up, but it's not like you beat the Eagles up or you beat the 49ers up. It's just, you beat a good team, but I wouldn't say we're in that elite NFC status right now, even though our record is 9-2. We're still trying to find our footing. We're still trying to find, the consistency, but I just don't know if that's going to show up this year. But I think this was Dak's 10th straight game against Dallas that he's won. So he's obviously got their number. And, I never had a doubt in my mind that they were going to not beat the Giants. The Giants are, they had a great first half of the season, but now we're seeing them get down to 7-4. And I'm questioning on if they can even make the playoffs at this point because Washington's playing really well.
They got some teams nipping at their heels, and they might be a team that's been figured out. They're very one-dimensional. In these past 2 weeks, Saquon Barkley has not been able to get going. Daniel Jones in this game was 21-35, 228 yards and a touchdown, so similar to Goff. Might be one of the better games you're going to get from him, but it's just not enough to take you over the hump.
No, and for me, I think when I'm thinking about it, looking back at this gravedigger list on the whiteboard here, I'm thinking maybe we put Detroit up there too soon.
I had them 9 wins at the beginning of the season, I think. So I don't know which one of us put us up there, but I know I put Washington up there too soon.
Yeah, it might have been me putting Detroit up there, but at this point, I'll take Detroit in the playoffs over the Giants.
Especially if you get Jamison Williams back, DJ Chark. If Amon-Ra St. Brown can stay healthy, I mean, you have weapons. Those tight ends have replaced T.J. Hawkinson's production very well. The defense has been coming alive these past few weeks. They got a shot, man. They really do.
Those bottom 2 seeds in the NFC, it's going to come down to the wire because we still got a battle between a lot of teams that are in the hunt still, and it's just going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know.
Hey, when you watch these games on Sunday and they have the playoff graphics, and in both conferences you see 8 teams in the hunt on both sides, I didn't think it was that deep of a race. I thought it was just a couple of teams that have a chance, but it's really teams that's like 4 and 8 that have a chance. I understand some of those are division teams with, shitty division teams, but I really wasn't expecting to see 15 in the hunt playoff teams at this point in the season.
No, and I think it's funny because all offseason we're talking about how weak the NFC is and stuff, but it's coming down to being such a competitive conference.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, but it's just, I'm not a fan of seeing, a majority of these NFC East teams being playoff teams because number one, I hate that division all across the board, but I don't know. I just how much of a lose-lose situation, much more of a lose-lose situation can you get than potentially having Dallas or Philly go to the Super Bowl? Like that is awful.
Hey, for some, country would be on fire if that happened.
It's gonna be, think about this.
I'd like to see you in there before Dallas.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that. Well, that's because I'm a Vikings fan, but I hate the Cowboys. But I hate the Cowboys. But when I look at it, though, and I think Super Bowl matchups and potential matchups, it's like, number one, I just don't see anyone in the AFC getting past Kansas City, the way they're playing and the way they're gelling and everything. I just it's hard for me to see that unless Buffalo, just really gets grooving.
Miami.
Nah, man. They won't do it. They won't be able to go to Kansas City and beat them in cold weather.
They might have the 1 seed.
They won't get the 1 seed.
We'll see, man. I mean,
but for me, this is just brainstorming. But if I'm putting Patty Mahomes in the Super Bowl, and say that's the AFC team that we get, how can you, in your right mind, pick a Dak Prescott or a Jalen Hurts over Patty Mahomes? Like, you can't.
You can't justify that at all.
Like, you're going to have two teams in the NFC with great seasons, and one of them's going to get to the Super Bowl. And this is hypothetical, but, one of those two get to the Super Bowl, and it's just like, man, I just see that playing out being, Kansas City beatdown on Tampa Bay all over again. Like,
If that's the case and Tampa Bay gets there, that's a wash.
like, man, I don't know, man. It's just, I couldn't have predicted this type of, just how close so many teams are this year. Like, it just is baffling. I don't know. And the thing is, we're getting to that point where a lot of people are talking about, well, these are definitely going to be the Super Bowl teams out of these 4 or these 5. It might not be that way, because you might have another Cincinnati Bengals team that goes on a huge run and just shocks everyone. And it
looks like it might be the damn Bengals.
That's yeah, for real. Like, they can do it again, but it's just one of those years where it's like, God damn, man, it's just anything's possible for any team.
That's a fact. We can talk about your team now. The last Thanksgiving Day game we had, New England was on the road in Minnesota, and Kirk and the Vikings bounced back after that ass whooping they took to Dallas, and he beat those primetime demons against, who else would you want to do it against? Bill Belichick. So coming out of this game, if I was a Vikings fan, I would feel so great about this victory, even though New England does have its offensive struggles. We know they have a good defensive team, and with us missing our left tackle, it didn't really look like we missed a beat on offense. So great bounce back win for the Vikings for sure.
To your last point about the O-line, man, like, going into this game, we were going up against the NFL leader in sacks, Judon. He was nowhere to be found all game long.
I don't think I heard his name.
Like, that was the one thing that worried me going into this game, especially with Darius out. But I mean, we locked him down. I mean, I think he had a couple pressures maybe, but nothing. He didn't do much. For me, it was just, man, I was saying after the game, this is the worst 9-2 team I've ever seen, because it's just, I thought the offense did great. The O-line held up well. Kirk Cousins played a really, really good game. Jefferson is a cheat code. But when you look at it, it's just all the frustration stems from this defense. It's the game planning and schemes that this defensive coordinator, Ed Donatell, is whatever he's doing or coming up with. It doesn't work, man. Like, the second half looked better because he started finally blitzing some. But
not to cut you off, but going into week 12, you had the 27th ranked defense.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see that. I'll just tell you, you're number 30 right now.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't expect that, honestly.
We're not a good defense, and we play soft zone coverage. Our cornerbacks are 7-8 yards off the receivers. They feast on us, and it's just so. I mean, you got a guy like Mac Jones. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he put up a career high 382 passing yards. Like,
yep,
on your home field, bro.
Look like Trevor Lawrence out there.
It's unacceptable, and I think, we held our own in the run game, I guess, only giving up 36 yards to Ramondre. But, I mean, my God, dude, this is just – you can't expect to go into the playoffs and on a deep playoff run with what we're doing on defense. It's just not going to work out. Like, it's just not. And this is where and for me, I've had to talk myself off the ledge, because what I think has happened this season is they've outdid my expectations with their record at this point in the season. So that's heightened my expectations going forward.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm that pissed off fan acting like a lunatic every game because they're not playing up to what I'm expecting them to play up to. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's just come to the point where I've had to talk myself down off the ledge, take a deep breath, and just realize, okay, we got a first-time GM, we got a first-time head coach, and this is the first year with a whole new system and a whole new culture. If this is how the first year is going to go, well, I still want to win. So this is a great first step to get to where we ultimately want to get to in the near future, is a Super Bowl championship. Not saying I don't think it's going to happen this year, obviously, but you can't ask for a better first year with this type of situation than what we're getting right now. And in a league where all that matters is wins, we're 9-2. It hasn't been pretty, but I'm very excited about the future with where Kwesi and KOC has taken us. I think the scariest part is, trying to see what Kwesi's going to do with having to pay JJ a boatload of money. You already got Kirk's contract situation. I mean, how are you going to build this team from what it is right now to make it even better? I don't know.
That JJ situation is going to be very interesting, and we're dealing with something similar with our quarterback up in the Northeast. But man, first of all, him and Kirk, I think, have solidified themselves as having a top 3 connection in the league.
Mm-hmm.
JJ, I think, has solidified himself. I hesitate to say this, but I think he is the best receiver in the league. I think him, Adams, and D-Hop are my 3. I hesitate to say this too, but now this was a couple days ago, so I don't remember all the numbers, but he's flying by Randy Moss like Usain Bolt in the 100 right now in every stat that Minnesota has. So if you want to put him on top 5 all-time watch right now, I mean, it's early. If we get about 7 more years like this, though.
I mean, you think about it. This past game against New England, he broke Moss's record for most receiving yards in the first 3 seasons of a player's career. And he's still got, 5 games to go now?
6?
Like he's gonna ultimately shatter that.
Gonna be obliterated.
And I don't think anyone's gonna be able to catch that for I don't know how long. Like it's one of those stats where, I mean, credit to OBJ because he was up there with Moss before.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, JJ he's making it look fucking easy. Like everything he does. I mean, and the fact is, when you look at JJ, you think just overall great receiver, but when you truly look at the game film and you're watching him catch like these crazy balls in traffic and double coverage,
so hard to catch,
and he's just getting obliterated at the point of attack, like catching the ball, like it. He still hangs on. I mean, he's one of the toughest, strongest receivers. Like,
yeah, bro.
And he doesn't got burners by any means, but he's got that sneaky speed where he'll slip right by you. He kind of looks like Moss running down the field because he's got those long strides.
Very smooth.
But I mean, one of the best route runners. This is what I mean though, is like, when it comes down to it, if the Vikings are going to go on a serious run and potentially get to the Super Bowl, it's going to have to come down to the offense putting up a lot of points each game because the defense is going to give up a lot.
Well, I kind of think that's why you guys are playing that shell coverage, so you don't give up a lot and so you don't give up the big play. The only thing that I see with you guys that I don't see with other teams is you guys don't really seem to be switching up anything. You just stay 7-8 yards deep. You don't really bring a lot of pressure. You don't really mix up a lot of coverages. You're not moving a lot before the snap, where other teams mix up a lot of that stuff. So
yeah,
I can pretty much read what you guys are going to do before the snap and know where I'm going. But
right,
you've made big plays when it counts.
That I mean, and that you never know when that's going to come to an end.
Is that something you want to rely on all season, though?
Like, it's I don't know, man. It's just a weird like way of going about things, and I just don't think Ed Donatel is the right guy for the defensive coordinator job. I think this year, you don't do anything mid-season, especially when you're 9-2. But at the end of the season, I think if I'm O'Connell, I'm sitting down and I'm saying, hey, we need better. This isn't going the right way. I think we got to cut ties before it gets any worse, because damn well everybody in the league who's playing or coaching, they can hear the outside noise, especially from their fan base. Like it doesn't go unnoticed. And every week it's Ed Donatel is trash. Like it's just bad. Like and there's no halftime adjustments. The only really halftime adjustments he makes is, okay, I'm going to send more pressure now, send more people on blitzes. But there's one thing that was interesting that stuck out to me. I think that there was a Vikings podcast I was listening to the day after the game, and they were talking about Harrison Smith and how with Zimmer just let Harrison Smith do Harrison and let him be the playmaker that he is, and he doesn't let Harrison do that in this defense. Like he's got his game plan for him, and he has to stick to it. You don't see Harrison, creeping up towards the line too much. You don't see him, just laying out, making big hits. It's just he's just kind of there as a safety, just as a body. And for me, it's just hard to understand because we do got a lot of talent on this defense. Our depth is very questionable, but the starting guys, I mean, we have a lot of talent. I mean, and to get wins so far without, I mean, besides the brutal loss to Dallas, the wins we've gotten without Dalvin Tomlinson, without Cam Dantzler, a couple games now without a Caleb Evans, like those are three key pieces in this defense that we truly need going down this, this crunch time, late in the season, going into postseason. It's just, we need to be healthy. We're a team who can't afford to get too banged up. And with a long season, that's hard to accomplish. So, it's going to be interesting because I know how I get during these games, but going forward, it's going to be interesting to, see if I do listen to myself about just kind of easing up. But I'm a guy, I like to win. I hate when my team loses. I hate when we play bad and when we get shit on by media and everyone in the fucking nation. Like, it's just like 9-2 and you still don't got respect. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. Good thing that people are letting you play that underdog role because teams usually thrive on that if they're doing well. But at the same time, it's bad because we all see what you're putting out there. Like, we're a defense that gives up a ton of yards, gives up a ton of points. And if our offense isn't clicking, it's going to be ugly. I mean, we've seen Philly, we've seen Dallas now. I mean, those are two playoff teams that we're going to have to face.
That's the scary part.
It's just like, I don't want to get to the playoffs. And because, if season ended now and we had to go to the playoffs and we played one of those two teams, the whole week I'm shitting bricks because it's like, I know what happened last time and how are you going to correct it? So,
Especially, if you have to play Philly coming off that performance last night and Dallas had a pretty good game on Thanksgiving, you probably don't feel too confident in that matchup. So makes a lot of sense. It will come down to that defense. In your case, a lot of teams, it comes down to this quarterback and if he can live up to expectations. But I think that might be the weakness of your team right now. Once you get Darisaw back, that O-line won't be a question anymore. Dalvin has his games. He has some games where he's non-existent, but I think consistency with Cousins in that passing game and then the defense is going to be key for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we have Houston at Miami. This wasn't much of a game. The Dolphins went up 30-0 at halftime. The Texans fought back, kind of made it a game, provided a late scare, but ultimately this one ended up being 15-30. Kyle Allen got the start for Davis Mills. Now, I did say there were two things I wanted to keep my eye on for this game. It was going to be if Tua stayed clean. He did not. He got sacked 4 times. One of those was pretty ugly. He got bent up like Gumby. The other thing I wanted to keep my eye on was if Dameon Pierce would have more than 8 rushing yards. I said that kind of jokingly, but the motherfucker had exactly 8 rushing yards again. So a lot of trouble for the Houston offense as we expected. Miami was clicking, and I'm just going to assume that they took their foot off the gas because this first half looked like it was Super Bowl bound, you know what I'm saying? So 15-30, Miami gets the win. In contention for that number 1 seed in the AFC still. What do you think about this one?
Oh, man, it was a blowout from the jump, 30-0 at halftime. It's just like I kind of looked away after that. I just don't expect much from a game that is featuring Houston. We're at that point now. You're, what is it, 1-9-1? Yeah, 1-9-1 now. I don't know. There's so much work to be done with this team to get them into a winning record going forward. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. You got a lot of rebuilding to do, especially along that offense. It just might be a bumpy road rebuilding for a little bit, but hopefully you can get there. I don't know. But with Miami, I think the big thing is what worries me going forward. I know he'll be back this season, but I don't know when. But Terran Armstead going down, that's a huge loss for that offense. So it's going to be interesting to see how McDaniels can piece together that offense to make sure it's not too much of a glaring hole without him. But I don't know. I think we kind of know what Miami is at this point. And Tua, I think you could still call him very underrated. I don't think he's still getting the love he deserves after what he's done so far this season. But I'm definitely noticing. I mean, he's a winner out there, great leader. But at some point, I think you're going to have to get a consistent run game with this kind of offense.
Yeah, Waddle, Hill, quiet days. Both had 85 catches or 85 yards, 11 catches combined. I don't know, man. A lot of these teams are using the short pass game as a form of their run offense, and with the receivers that they have, they can move after the catch, and the running backs with the speed that they have. 13 for 39 isn't going to cut it. I agree with that. Wilson and this offense, they should be way more productive than that. He did score a touchdown, and I think they will be more productive than that, but I'm not taking too much away from it. And for this game, I don't really take too much away from that. They were 26 rushes for 66 yards, but I don't know, man. After that first half blowout and a defensive score, you're up 30-0. You don't really.
Yeah, you don't do much.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, I'm just not putting much into that for this game.
And that's why I don't really have much of a takeaway from this game, because they got out fat. They got out, to that lead so quick that it was just like, well, what can you take away from this besides Miami just dominated a bad team?
And Tua, when he finishes and starts the game, they haven't lost yet. So that's pretty much all I got for this one.
It's going to be interesting to see. I'm really interested to see, when we get to Miami playing Jets again, Buffalo again, when they have to play, if they play Kansas City in the playoffs, like what type of team they become when it gets down to that type of atmosphere.
They have a great test coming up this week, but we can talk about that tomorrow. What we thought was going to be a stinker really turned out to be that way. I forgot to even write the final score down for this one. We had Denver on the road at Carolina. Your boy Sam Darnold got the start for the Panthers, and Carolina really was relying on the run game, though. But Darnold had a fair game. I think it was 11 for 19, 11 for 20, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think he turned the ball over. So that's what you want from your quarterback. Decent play, smart play, no turnovers, good defense, and then a rushing attack that can carry your offense. And that's pretty much what this Carolina team is going to look like for the rest of the season. They have a slim chance to get into the playoffs. They're, a game or two, maybe 2.5 behind Tampa Bay with a lot of season left. So they got a chance. Denver, you don't have a chance. It's going to be looking like Nathaniel Hackett's out of here after the year. I understand you're dealing with a lot on that offensive side as far as weapons being down, but you haven't looked good with those weapons in there. Russell Wilson, terrible game. He has me so flustered I can't even speak. Under 150 passing yards, 1 touchdown, but it's just abysmal. If you watch this team, I know you wanted that time back in your life for sure.
Bro, can we just have Denver and Houston play each week? I mean,
that's about the point we're getting to.
Like it's comical. I think at this point, just bench Russell Wilson, because save whatever type of career he has left and just eat shit the rest of the year.
Bring him back next year?
You're gonna probably bring him back because you paid him all that freaking money. But your first goal is to get rid of Hackett, because that was the worst hire I've ever seen. Like, this is such a bad team and such a badly coached team that it's just, I have no words for it. But on the other side with Carolina, I did have them winning this game. I thought Darnold would provide somewhat of a spark, which the numbers aren't the greatest, but I think he definitely provided a spark for DJ Moore. I mean, only 4 catches, but 103 yards and a touchdown. We haven't seen that in a while from him. So that's nice to see, because DJ Moore is a very good receiver, probably underrated as of now, but he's just been in bad situations. And, I think it's credit to Steve Wilkes, because this is the best he could probably do with this type of team, this type of roster. He's getting the most out of it, way more than what Matt Rule was doing out there. And, peace out, Rule. And you're going to make Nebraska even worse now. So, no, he'll probably be okay the way he recruits. But I don't know. This game and the last game, the Miami-Houston game, there's just, you don't get excited when there's games like this.
No, the team almost ran for as much as they passed for on the Denver side of things. It's just a disgrace. Carolina, like I said, they have a chance. I'm not going to put too much faith in them with Darnold being the quarterback. I do think PJ Walker is honestly the best option for this team right now. That's not saying a lot, though. So, to your point of Steve Wilkes doing what he can with this roster, I credit to him for sure.
No, I think really on the Carolina side, it's just Brian Burns is terrific.
He's a monster.
Like that dude is.
Took him a couple years, but he got there.
I think he's up to 10 sacks now. Yeah, he had 3 QB hits, 1 pass defended, tackle for loss, 2 sacks, 3 total tackles. Like, he's just been turning it on. And, I mean, to be in a situation playing for a bad team and, to play that hard still is a credit to the guys, because when you're in the league and you're on a bad team, a lot of guys let that get to them and they don't play up to their standards. So that's credit to him for still going out there and earning a paycheck.
Next, we have Chicago on the road in New York facing the Jets. No Justin Fields this game due to injury. No Zach Wilson this game due to terrible play. Mike White got the start for him, and he looked like he ain't going to be giving it back. They take the win, 31-10. He was out here looking like Trevor Lawrence too. 22 of 28, 315 yards, 3 touchdowns. The second coming of Peyton Manning right here.
Bro, I just got to, so Mike White has had 4 career starts. 2 of them he's had 3 TD passes, and I think 300
yards, right?
300 plus yards. And I think the stat is that Zach Wilson has 0 such games in 20 starts.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
That's all you need to know, man. This offense has the playmakers. It has the capabilities. Garrett Wilson's a stud. Him and Olave look like 2 of the best rookie receivers to come out since JJ and Chase. I don't know, man. This was definitely the right move. I said last week it was either him or Flacco. They got to go forward with it. Zach Wilson's in press conferences not taking blame for his terrible play. And now you hear reports about guys in the locker room not liking him. Nobody's stepping up for him, similar to how they were treating Russell Wilson in Seattle after he left. So he lost his job for sure. And being a backup in this league might be a tough task for him going forward.
I think he's just proven to everyone that he's the biggest douchebag in the league. He's just got daddy's money, and he's looking like that baby face punk kid who went to a private school and doesn't get in trouble, can get away with anything. And now you're in a big boy league, and no one's gonna like you because of your attitude. And when you're a quarterback, it's your responsibility to take responsibility for bad games and bad play, and just say you need to play better and own up to it. But when you can't even have
go
that
35 or 40, 400 yards, 4 touchdowns, and be like, I missed those 5 throws. Those are terrible. That's on me.
Yeah, and that's the difference between him and Jalen Hurts, because that's the type of guy Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah.
They can win a game. He can have 2 awful throws, out of 40. But he's still going to be like, no, I wish I had those throws back and put my team in a better position than what I did those 2 plays. And that's what a true leader is. And, I like the coach in New York, Robert Saleh. I like the defense he's put together. They got playmakers on offense. You need to go back to the drawing board, in the offseason for a quarterback, because if you get a good quarterback, I mean, this team is going to be a very fun team to watch going forward. And they already are a fun team to watch, but they'll be even more fun. We'll get to it tomorrow, but I'm so excited for JJ versus Sauce.
Yeah, I definitely want to touch on that tomorrow. That's one of the best matchups all season, no question. I can't wait for that. Anything else on this game before we move on?
No, I just think, as long as Fields is out and now that Mooney's out, you can definitely put the Bears away for the season.
I did want to touch on that. Mooney will miss the remainder of the season, and then Fields obviously did not play this game. Trevor Siemian got the start, 14 to 25, 179 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Not great, not good, not bad either.
Here's my take is I would rest Fields the rest of the season.
I think
Don't
there's a
make
few
a
teams that are going to be looking to do that. Denver might be another one. A team we'll talk about later might be another one with their veteran quarterback with an oblique injury. Guess who that might be?
just let Justin, the way that Justin's been coming on lately and the talent he has, just put him on ice the rest of the season. Let him heal up for next year, and you're gonna have probably the most cap space in the league this offseason. So it's just back to the drawing board, adding more pieces to this team and getting back to winning football.
Yep. Even without him, they still ran the ball effectively. But that's not something you want to do. Now that your top receiver's out, you're going to be putting him in even more harm's way. I would agree with sitting him for the rest of the season. Next, we have Atlanta at Washington. Falcons look like they were going to get the go-ahead score in the fourth quarter. And Ravens lost. Breaking news. So Wonderon had a bad day. But Wonderon had a good day. He tipped Mariota's pass at the goal line, ending up in an interception for the Washington Commanders. They get out of here with a 13-19 win, and I think they're winners of 6 of their last 7. How impressive is that, man? Ron Rivera, hats off to you. Taylor Heineke playing out of his mind right now, even though he's playing very average. He just has good control of this offense. He brings a good energy and a good vibe to this team, man. They really believe in this guy. 14-23, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. Did have an interception, but like we said last week, man, Wentz lost his job. Heineke just brings something to this team, energy-wise, belief-wise, that Wentz just isn't doing.
Yeah, and I think, as far as Heineke, he's not the greatest quarterback, definitely average, but when he's got the dog mentality to go out there and we're going to make this play, giving his teammates confidence and then they believing in you, like these are some of the more fun teams to watch in the league because they're not the greatest of teams or elite teams, but they're going to go out there and they're going to battle their asses off. And they're going to try to everything they can, scratch and claw to get that W. And this is that type of team. And they're the scariest teams to play, especially getting into this time of the season, where seedings are in play and everything else like that. It's, I have a suspicion that they'll pass up the Giants, and Giants will be last place in this division.
Will Giants sneak in the playoffs, or you think Seattle gets that spot or something like that?
Well, when we get to Seattle's game, I'll touch on them. But I would, as of right now, I'd still put Seattle above the Giants, but I'm definitely putting Washington above the Giants as well. So I would have the Giants missing the playoffs.
I know Atlanta's still in it, so we're probably not going to be seeing Desmond Ridder. This offense struggled, though. We know no Kyle Pitts, obviously. Calvin Ridley suspended. Patterson was just coming back off of his injury, but Mariota leaves a lot to be desired out there sometimes. I think he can play really well in some instances, but in some cases, he's just really below average.
I don't know what it is. He always looks great indoors, but outdoors, he's just poo. Like he's just bad. Like, I don't know. Like I've always said this about Atlanta for some reason. It's just, they don't strike me as a very good outdoor team. I don't know why. It's just they look a lot more fast and physical on turf indoors. And then you get to outdoors on the East Coast like Washington or Philly, and it's just, they don't know how to show up.
Something I haven't kept my eye on, but I might need to now, making these picks. I should have mentioned, man, that pick lost me some money. I had Atlanta covering the game. That one made me mad. I just wanted to mention that. Cincinnati at Tennessee. Bengals, weren't able to keep their streak of 30 points going, but they did what was important, and that's they got out of Tennessee with the dub, 20-16. Kind of an ugly game. They were playing Tennessee style, but they found a way to do it in the end. Tennessee only mustering 16 points and not being very efficient in the red zone. Coming into the game, I think they were the best red zone offense in the league. Defensively, though, is where they lost this game, though, in the red zone. When they had Cincinnati on 4th down and forced a field goal, they commit a penalty running into the snapper, giving Cincinnati a new set of downs and allowing them to run out the clock. So Cincinnati sneaking away with a W, a very good W on the road against a very good, very solid, very tough Tennessee team.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It seems like Cincinnati has some problems and issues playing within their division, but when they get to playing contenders in the AFC outside of their division, they seem to show up and play really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they can't get Jamar Chase back soon enough. Like it's just going to elevate them to a whole nother level again. And I think playing without him for this long now, they're realizing, man, if we just get Chase back out here, we're going to be doing some damage. And I don't know what it is. They've got off to a slow start. I think they start 0-2, and then they've won however many out of their last however many. I don't know what the numbers are, but
they're 7-4.
7-4 now.
Yeah.
So 7 out of their last 9 or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, sounds right. I don't do math after 6:30.
I just think, Bengals are a team we got to watch out for. They're still among the best of the best in the AFC, I think, talent-wise. It's just sometimes they start slow and they can't recover. And it's they're just one of those teams. But I think Titans just had one too many errors this game to come out on top. I think it was that one, what was it, on the field goal, the contact of the long snapper or whatever, and cost them just blew the game. But it was, I thought Cincinnati did a good job containing Derrick Henry. In the run game at least. But I like what Treylon Burks is doing so far. I mean, he's coming into his own, and he's going to be an integral part of that offense for quite some time. I don't know. It's just the Tannehill factor is just sometimes he plays really well and out of his mind like Green Bay, and then you get to these games and it's just like he didn't do enough.
To your Burks point, he was my favorite wide receiver coming into the draft. He did score his first touchdown, I believe, and it was on a Derrick Henry fumble off a big catch and run. Kind of to tie this back into JJ. Why I think JJ has a chance right now, I'm going to assume that he's going to be with Kirk for quite some time. Kirk is a good quarterback. I think Jerry Rice played with a lot of good quarterbacks. T.O. did as well. Moss had a little stint there where he went to Tennessee and Oakland, and he really didn't have good quarterback play before he linked up with Brady in Tampa or in New England.
Mm-hmm.
Treylon Burks, not to say he's on the level of those guys, but having Tannehill as your guy, it's not going to do the best for your development.
No, exactly. When it comes to the development part of it, it's just he's not going to get any better. You know what I mean? And he's not going to be able to learn from a good quarterback either. So,
especially one that's looking over his shoulder,
right? And I don't know. I respect the hell out of this Titans team, and I respect the hell out of Vrabel. But nothing about them scares me come playoff time. Like, unless Henry is taking complete control of the game, there's nothing that I fear about the Titans.
As a general fan or as a Viking fan?
No, just as a general fan. Like, I'm saying, if I was, even if I was a Chiefs fan or Bengals fan, it's just like there's nothing to be really worried about with this Titans team. Sometimes they can play great defense, sometimes they don't. It's just you never know what you're going to get with them. So in a sense, I guess they're a scary team, but I don't. As long as Tannehill's the quarterback, I mean, you're not going to get too many games like he had against the Packers. So you don't have to worry about that.
No, you don't have to worry about that at all. Burrow was a little quiet in this one, 22 of 37, 270 and a touchdown. He didn't have Mixon, but he did have T. Higgins, who went for 7 for 114 and a touchdown. So even with the absence of Jamar Chase, they do seem to have a number one. If not a number one, he's a top tier number 2. And he's been stepping up in the absence of Jamar Chase. And this offense, like I said, they've been clicking without him. And this was their first game without 30 points in the last 5 or 6 or so. But I don't see this being a problem for Cincinnati going forward. Tennessee is a really well-coached team, and they have a good, solid defense. So if I was a Bengals fan, I'd hate myself. But I wouldn't feel too bad about this game.
No, I think when you get Mixon back and you get Chase back, I mean, this offense can do so much damage, and I think that just adds to Burrow's confidence having all of his guys there. So it all comes down to this O-line if they can hold up and they can protect well enough. That's always been the issue for this team.
They've been doing well as of late, haven't they?
Yeah, I think that I read a stat that I think they had only 18.4% pressure on his dropbacks Sunday. So, that's what you look for out of O-line play, not letting people get to your quarterback and disrupt stuff. So,
Yeah, 1 out of 5. I guess I could live with that.
but
Obviously, we'd like to see that number lower, but
I think with this defense for Cincinnati, it's as long as you have Eli Apple out there, it's gonna be doomsday.
yeah, you said that last week. Moving on, we'll rip it off just like we will this later. Baltimore on the road at Jacksonville. Another sloppy offensive game finally caught up with these guys. First 2 drives, we looked pretty good. Outside of a Mark Andrews fumble that we ended up getting back because the defender was out of bounds when they touched the football. We go down and stall in the red zone on 2 field goals, I think 22 and 27 yards. It's pretty much the story of the game. Even if we get out of there 10-0, we should win this game. But getting out of there 6-0, Jacksonville goes down and scores, puts them up 7-6, and it's pretty much back and forth the whole game after that. Baltimore scored with just over 2 minutes remaining, I think, about 2:02. So Jacksonville still had the 2-minute warning, still had some timeouts. And then Trevor Lawrence turned into Peyton Manning, went down there, completed 11 passes this game to Zay Jones, a big one on this final drive, and then a touchdown pass to Marvin Jones on the other side of the field in the end zone. Dougie P, you slide double you. You look like you're going to go for 1, and I thought we were going to get you fuckers in overtime. We come back from timeout, and you're going for 2. You're a bastard. But, hey, that's what you got to do when you're not as good of a team,
Hey, bro. Like, that was – I was questioning him when he was going for it, but I was like, you know what? He doesn't want to see them in overtime, and I get that. So
it's fair. You're an inferior team. That's what you have to do. I'm not mad at it. I am mad at it, but it's a great call. Squib kick, though, wasn't the best call. We get the ball, 10 seconds left, complete a pass. The best kicker in history has a chance for a 67-yard field goal. As we know, he had the record last year, 66-yard field goal against the Detroit Lions. Wasn't able to cash this one in, though. I fell to my knees, took a walk around the block, texted a couple friends, talked myself off the ledge, and came back to watch the afternoon games. But 27-28, Jacksonville got this W. What'd you think about this one?
All I can say is, like,
wait, Baltimore blew another 10-point lead. Now go.
I need more from this offense than 4 field goals. Like, anytime you go and your most of your offense is 3 to 5 field goals all game, like, it's gonna usually bite you in the ass.
It's gonna catch up to you.
Like,
you never want 12 on the scoreboard.
I really thought the game was over when that 62-yard pass to Deshaun was completed. I was like, bro, that's what.
Like, but hey, credit to Dougie P using those timeouts there. A lot of coaches wouldn't have done that.
Yeah,
saved his team a lot of time.
So I mean, and I think I thought it was over because I was like, I can't really trust Trevor Lawrence to lead a game-winning drive with these type of guys that he has on offense because there's not. But then you look at the stats and you got freaking Zay Jones. Like,
who is this guy?
Like he's. Let me look at this because I can't remember who else he's played for, but
11 for 145. That's a Justin Jefferson type game,
right? I know, and man.
And every catch was a big catch. He did have a few drops, or else he would have went for 180. Like, this was bad. Speaking of drops, man, we had about 5 or 6 that were just crucial.
Yeah, this is his first year with Jacksonville. So he was first 3 years in the league with Buffalo, then the next 3 with the Raiders, and now Jacksonville. I mean, he's been anywhere.
Shit Josh Allen, shit Raiders, and now you get Jacksonville.
I've heard him, his name once in a while throughout the years, but he's been one of those guys on his teams though, where it's just he's the kind of a third, fourth option where he doesn't get much stat lines, but he'll come up with some clutch catches. But against the Baltimore team for 11 for 145 or whatever, it's then he gets the game-winning 2-point conversion.
Where do we think the ball is going to go? Motion, for some reason, I haven't seen one team, NFL or college, be able to defend the motion. I don't understand it.
Man,
I'm running motion every play if I'm an offensive coordinator.
it's I don't know what to say about this game, man. It was just like I just think that Lamar needs help. Like he just needs fucking help, bro. I mean, there's
I will
just
say
not.
Lamar missed a couple open throws, and I did hear a stat that behind Zach Wilson, he is the second worst deep thrower in the league. And I'm not a big stats guy if I don't have the eye test with me, but from watching the game, I can definitely understand that stat.
Well,
I think 5 or 6 drops will really cost us, though.
Yeah, I mean, you got the drops, yeah, but we've always kind of said Lamar's got a little bit of accuracy issues, and if we all know that and coaches know that and everything, it's just like, well, get some guys in there who can go get the ball. Like, I mean, you got Deshaun now, but he's 35 or 36 or whatever.
He'll pull his hamstring next week.
Besides Mark Andrews, you need someone. I mean, Duvernay showed glimpses. Bateman's got injury problems already through his career. I mean, what are you going to do going forward? I mean, he wants all this money, and I think he deserves the contract he was looking for because of what he can do. But at the end of the day, do you think Lamar shows enough that he can put a team like this on his back and carry him? I don't know.
My answer to that right now would be no.
Because the numbers, the overall numbers that I'm looking at this year, he's right around the Kirk Cousins area. Like, I'm just saying, if you add running ability to Kirk Cousins' resume, like Jackson, I mean, they're like the same quarterback.
You talking about if you account for his passing and rushing yards?
Like if you added,
I think he's at 200 pass yards a game, just about.
Lamar
is, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but he like 89 yards rushing this game. Like he does it all, but
he
it's
came in with 66 a game. So
it's for me, it's just you got to add more talent on the outside for him. But
he's not the problem.
No, he's not the problem. He's not the problem at all.
He's not winning us the games, but he's not losing us the games.
But I think what really, really hurt that really cost you the game and that he has to hold his head and take accountability for is Gus Edwards can't fumble that football.
That was a first down too. That was the start of a beautiful drive.
Like you can't, and I've seen that a couple of times this year with Baltimore is in crucial situations, their running backs have fumbled the ball.
Yep, he did. Justin Hill did against the Giants or the Dolphins, I believe. We've had it happen a couple of times. We missed J.K. a lot. I love Gus. He looked a little slow out there. He did look, he had his flashes, but it looked like it was his first game back from that knee injury.
Yeah, and that's the thing too is there's been a revolving door with injuries with your team the past couple of years, and it's you're not being able to you're not getting both sides of the ball to gel as a unit. You're not getting that camaraderie. It's constant revolving doors, guys in and out, and I think that fucks with the team and their mentality.
Who are your guys out? Caleb Evans, Dalvin Tomlinson, and whoever the fuck.
Cam Dancer.
That's the difference between us and everybody else is our star guy. It's like us and the Chargers and the 49ers. Mm-hmm. Star guys every year go out. Everybody else, it's those middle tier guys and guys that were next man up. It actually means something. But when you're losing guys like Derwin James, Marcus Williams, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, your number one receiver, it's like we can only do so much. So,
yeah, I know. And to be 7-4 still, like this team's not going to go away. Like that's what I love about Harbaugh is everyone plays for him. Everyone plays 100%, 110% for him. It's just like they will find ways late in the season to beat you. And it's going to, I mean, that's a team that come playoff time is always prepared and ready to go.
If we get there. Next, we had our first of 2 games that went to overtime. We had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on the road at the Cleveland Browns. I almost called them the Cavaliers.
I caught that.
In their last game before Deshaun Watson comes back, they finally get the W that they so desperately needed, and they took down the GOAT at home. Big conversion to Cooper late in this overtime period. I think it was down at the 2, but they chose to run a few more plays, which is very curious to me. anything can happen in those plays. They ultimately ended up getting the touchdown. They let Chubb run it in there. 23-17. I think they're 4-8 now.
Yeah.
Tampa's 5-6, I know, leading the NFC South. Cleveland still has a chance, a shot in the dark to get into this playoffs. I don't know. With their guy back, they have a chance. I will say that. This defense has been shaky. It did show up against the Bucs, who also have been shaky on offense, but maybe a sign that this team can turn it around a little bit.
Yeah, they're actually 4-7, which is even better.
Oh, that's way better.
So I think I mean, we got to give a round of applause for Jacoby Brissett, because this is pretty much this is a great year for him.
He played great.
Like, it was a career year for him, and he did what he was asked to. He went out there and he led that team week in and week out. Hasn't always been pretty, but I mean, this dude, he's a true professional, and I mean, he's a guy that I'd love on my team. I don't care if he's backup or starting. Like, I'll go to bat for Jacoby Brissett, and I think he put them in the best position possible to have a shot for when Deshaun comes back. Being 4-7, not close enough around 500 that I had been wanting them to be, but if Deshaun can come out of the gate slinging it and not missing a beat, I think they'll be just fine. I think they still have a shot to sneak in, but this was a huge overtime victory against Tampa Bay. And I think I like this Browns team. They just got a lot of grit and toughness to them. And I think, I'm blanking on his name, the coach who coached for us. Stefanski. I think, he's doing, the best job he can. And there's be questionable moments with him, obviously, but I don't know, man. It's just it's going to be very exciting to see. I think, I'd like to see them go into Houston and light them up with Deshaun's first game back. That'd be fun to watch. But, Tampa Bay, bro, it's just they
are in trouble.
They don't look good
anywhere.
I mean, this was the
run defense, pass defense, offensively. They have no run game. Pass defense just relies on Brady being able to throw these guys open who have all lost a step. And he's lost a step.
Yeah.
The play call is unpredictable.
It's almost depressing having to watch Brady at this point in his career, because if he's not going to end it and he's not going to be done, then you got to find a new situation and a new team, because you're at the point in your career where you have to have a lot of really good playmakers around you, because you've lost arm strength. You're not mobile. And when you're playing with a banged up older group of guys like this Tampa Bay team, it's just not going to end well. And I don't even want them to get into the playoffs. Like, I just don't I don't know who they're going to beat. I mean, unless they pull a rabbit out of their hat, bro, like, who are they going to compete with?
Giants, but they wouldn't even win the division. So, Buccaneers would, though. So I guess Giants. That'd be my only answer. Maybe Washington again.
Because, I mean, you think about it, the first game of the year, they what?
A fluke.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's what I was getting to, is that's not going to happen again. Because I think they were
31-10 or something.
No, I think it was like 17-3.
Oh, that's what. Yep. You're right.
Like, Dallas won't be held to 3 points again, especially the way your defense is playing. I mean, everyone in that organization is just getting banged up left and right. I think they had like 6 or 8 guys on defense go out at one point for, just to come back in. But
Antoine Winfield got pancaked by Jacoby Brissett. I mean, anything you want to say bad about the Bucs, get your shots off right now.
You know what? And then when you go back to the Browns, it's like with Deshaun coming back, if you can get big games out of Chubb, and then you got those weapons, with Njoku and Cooper. I mean, they're not light on. They're not, lacking weapons.
This is a playoff team. This is a playoff roster, no question.
Like, they can go on a run here, and that could be this could be a crazy, feel good storyline at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, Depending on how you feel about Deshaun, maybe you
Well,
don't feel too great.
but I mean, at this point,
Strictly football, I
I,
understand.
I'm talking. I'm not. I don't care about his off-field stuff. I mean, I do care because that if it's true, that's completely wrong. But it, he's not being thrown in prison. He's not like charged criminally. Really, it's he paid his fines and his dues with the 11-game suspension. It's just like, okay, for me, it's like I'm strictly keeping it football, and now it's time to move on. If we're at this point, like let's not make a story out of this every week when we have to watch him play.
My last point on this game, which pretty much sums up this season for me so far, Tom Brady, in the final 2 minutes of regulation, up 7+ points, was 218-0.
And now he's I know.
Sunday, he suffered his first loss to what franchise? The Cleveland Clowns. And that is the 2022-23 NFL season for you.
You know what's funny is it's just when it comes to Brady, it just seems inevitable that he's going to come back because I don't think he wants to go out like this.
Oh, you talking about next year?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about this year, and I was gonna say that's why I'm really not lashing him too hard right now.
No, I think he'll come back, have one more good year, and then call it quits. He's gonna aim for one more good year, Super Bowl or not. At least statistically, he wants a good year, and then he'll call it quits.
It's a fair point. There's gonna be a couple teams open for him next year, so I'll keep my eyes on that for sure.
Wherever Sean Payton goes, watch out for Brady to follow.
Where did I just see? I'll start us on this while I think of that. Moving on to the afternoon games, we had probably the game of the day and what was our second game that went to overtime. We had the Vegas Raiders on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Early pick by Carr put Seattle up 7 after a Kenneth Walker touchdown. Vegas went down and answered with the touchdown of their own, tying the game at 7. We fast forward a little bit after 2 field goals from Seattle. And Vegas scores on a flea flicker, putting them up 14-13. And from there, it was a pretty back and forth game. A pick that set up a pick by Geno that set up a beast mode run by Josh Jacobs, one of the best runs I've seen all year. A little juke. He gets a toss on the right side, stiff arms a defensive lineman in the face, and then runs away from the D-back all in about a 20-yard span. It was very impressive. And for me, that's pretty much where I'll pick up on this game because it was the Josh Jacobs show.
Oh, yeah.
You can talk about the rest of the game. I just want to get this off real quick. 86-yard run in overtime to seal the victory. 33 rushes, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 receptions, 74 yards, accounting for 303 total yards. And if you had him on your fantasy team, I know we don't talk about fantasy a lot, but he almost guaranteed a W for you last week.
Yeah. What are they? Yeah, Vegas 4-7 now. I mean, 2 back-to-back walk-off performances. They're not a great team, but I mean, as long as you have Carr and Devontae, I mean, leaders of your team, you're gonna be fighting. They're not going out without swinging, So for me, it's just like I've seen the Seahawks defense take a major step backward from where they were playing first half of the season.
Yeah.
They're starting to give me worry about having confidence in them going into the playoffs. I don't know if they're living up to that hype. I still love Geno Smith and the way he's playing, but your defense is a liability right now. It's
reverted back to what it was.
It's not looking good. And I think that's the point. Like, we're just at. It's just, you got a lot of playmakers on offense. It's not the game I predicted for Kenneth Walker. I thought he was going to have a big game against that Raiders defense, but
likewise,
they did a good job containing him. I think there was, I think the turning point at the end of the game was that DK catch overturned or whatever towards midfield.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of went downhill from there. But yeah, for me, it just boils down to this. This could have been a game where you took care of business and kind of put them away. Instead, you just played like a team who really doesn't look like a playoff team.
It's tough to say that you are if you're giving up 40 points to a 4-win team. This is probably more along the lines of what we've expected from this Raiders offense coming into the season. I know they're without Waller and Renfro, but I don't know, maybe the silver lining is Carr and Devontae Adams get to really get that connection back that they had in Fresno State.
Mm-hmm.
Seattle was disappointed defensively for me for sure. Quandre Diggs did have 2 picks in the first quarter, but after that, they let Raiders get whatever they wanted to get. Like I said, Geno did throw a pick that was crucial. It led to a Raiders score right afterwards. I don't know, man. Pretty good game, though, all in all. I mean, kind of what we expect from both of these teams. Neither of these teams are world beaters, so I didn't really expect a blowout on either side. Maybe a little bit more high scoring than I thought, and the winner was not the team I thought would win, but Josh McDaniels seems to be clicking with this offense as of late. Maybe it just takes some time in some of these instances. I know we're in an era where we don't give these guys a lot of time. 8 games, 2 years. That's pretty much the range that we get. So I don't know. Maybe they turn this around in Vegas. Maybe a little too late, but 4-7, they're in the same boat as Cleveland, so they have a chance.
This is where the football becomes like, the most fun for me, because there's these teams like the Raiders who, going in this game, they're 3-7. Now they're 4-7, but these are teams who can ruin seasons. They can knock you out of the playoffs, or they can ruin your seeding for home field. Like we're getting to that point in the season where it just becomes a lot more interesting, a lot more fun, because things really matter, truly matter. And some of these teams like, Philly, Minnesota, Dallas, like they can go out there and lay a couple stinkers, and it just changes the aspect and the layout of the playoffs completely.
Before we move on from this one, I saw a stat that said Derek Carr is now 9-1 in overtime games. And I saw that too. 2 walk-off wins in a row. They got us last year, week 1, with the walk-off too. So familiar territory for sure for these guys.
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles Chargers at Arizona in the second game of our games that came down to 2-point conversions to win the game. We have the Chargers taking on the Cardinals and getting the victory 25-24. Kyler made his return. He had Hollywood and he had Hopkins in the lineup with him. And at times, this offense looked pretty good. It honestly didn't look too bad. But on the other side of things, it was all about Herbert. 13 rushes for the team, 65 yards. He had 4 of those for 38 yards, 35 of 47, 274 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns. Carter, Allen, Eckler all had a receiving touchdown. But if it wasn't for Herbert, this would have been a terrible, terrible loss for this Chargers team.
Yeah, I think what I read was, and so beginning of the fourth quarter, or not beginning, but like the fourth quarter in general, the first 2 possessions for the Chargers, they couldn't get much going at all. And luckily, Arizona couldn't do shit at all either. It was,
Well, they get up 10-0. I think the Cardinals got up 10-0, and then Chargers just took control from that point pretty much.
Yes. In the first half, you talking about?
Whenever it was, early in the game.
Yeah, it was 17-14 at half. That's what I'm seeing right now,
Okay.
But I don't know the beginning of it. But I'm trying to look here what I read earlier. It's apologize for this.
While you do that, I can talk about a little bit of what I saw from the Cardinals, and if we think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be back there next year. I know after the game, Kyler Murray was at the press conference saying that the offense is pretty limited, pretty predictable, essentially. And I don't know, man. We don't like Kyler, but we can agree with that sentiment, I think. That's something you don't want to say to the public, probably something you want to keep behind closed doors. But from him, a guy that's as talented as he is, I don't want to hear those excuses when you have guys like Hollywood and Hopkins out there to throw the ball to. I think you have to be way more productive, especially being the number 1 overall pick.
Yeah, okay, so I found it here. So the Cardinals offense, they regained possession 3 times following their go-ahead touchdown in the fourth quarter. Each time they went 3 and out. That's unacceptable. That's very unacceptable, and it all falls on Kingsbury. This loss is on Kingsbury because he couldn't scheme up or devise a plan to get 10 yards, like with D-Hop, with Kyler. Like you can't
That's
do
what
it.
I'm saying.
Like, yes, for me, Kingsbury has to be gone after this year. He's just not working out, and I think it's just going to lead to a very toxic relationship that I think is already toxic between Kyler and head coach. The locker room is going to be completely lost. Everyone's going to be completely out of there. It's just going to be a shit show if you keep them any longer after this year. But for me, it was, the Chargers, they really couldn't get much going in the fourth quarter either, but it was, the fact that the Arizona Cardinals just shot themselves in the foot continuously. That's what led to them being able to, drive 38 yards with 133 left to play and score that, go ahead touchdown and 2-point conversion they went for, which brings me to my point of, Brandon Staley. We've talked about him and his, questionable decision making at certain points in games. And I think what this 2-point conversion that he went for at the end of the game said to me was he didn't trust his team enough in overtime against this Cardinals team to get it done. So he went for the kill right then and there. Luckily it paid off. But for me, a lot of questioning has to be placed towards Brandon Staley because I don't think he's living up to the hype as a head coach out there. And honestly, it's interesting because I think it's going to come down to one of these two teams for Sean Payton to go to.
Is that what I was seeing earlier? It might have been Arizona. I think that would be fun.
I think he's positioning himself. He wants a good young quarterback. I would personally much rather him go and coach up Justin Herbert than Kyler Murray.
Oh, my goodness. Nah, stay your ass in the NFC. Hell no. Go to the Rams. Go fix them. Do something. Don't do that. Anything else on this one before you give me a heart attack?
Nah.
Speaking of the Rams, they were on the road facing the Kansas City Chiefs. I think McVay was watching Saban Saturday. If you tuned into the Iron Bowl, roll Tide, baby. We got the victory over Auburn. But Saban took a shot on the sideline. At the press conference after the game, his cheek was bloodied, bruised, and battered. McVay said, hey, he's a great coach. I want to be a great coach too. So he gets a shot in the face by one of his players. But that's pretty much just a microcosm of the Rams season. You get hit in the face, you don't get back up, and you lose by 16. On the other side of things, I think the discrepancy between Mahomes and the next best quarterback that's quite a big of a gap there. And I understand that he didn't have a great game against the Rams, but whoever your number two guy is, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Herbert, he ain't close.
There's Patrick Mahomes, and then there's elite.
They ain't close.
He's different, bro. Like, and now, I really, really like the fact that they went out and picked up Melvin Gordon. I just think that was a great sign. I mean, he has his issues. He just needs to hold on to the ball, but he can be a very solid runner, and he fits this offense so well. Barber. Like, I think he fits his offense very well. And, I think you got a lot of rookies who contributed in this game across the board for Kansas City.
I like Bancheko a lot.
Yeah, he's fun to watch. And, I just think, I watched the first quarter and a half of this game and I turned it off because I was like, I don't want to watch anything that has to do with the Rams. Like, it's just not going to be a game. And it ended up being that way. Like, Chiefs had control from the jump, and it wasn't even close.
Couldn't be in a worse situation right now. No Cup, no running game, no O-line. Allen Robinson is now out for the rest of the season.
He just cut your leading rusher in Darrell Henderson.
When you wanted to trade Cam Akers since week 2, and you cut
which
the other
makes
guy.
No, I don't get it.
What the fuck is going on, man?
I don't get it. But then you got, Travis Kelce. He's in his 10th year now. He has the most receiving yards in a tight end's first 11 seasons in league history. And, it's funny because Kelce did not record a catch in his first season in the NFL.
Damn.
So
that's impressive.
Like, the dude's a monster.
That is straight domination.
So this team is just, this is
Which
my
87 are you taking, Kelce or Gronk?
I'm a Kelsey guy. I love me some Gronk, but I'm a Kelsey guy.
That's a tough one.
Kelsey
Trying
is
to be
so much.
prisoner at the
Kelsey
moment.
is so much more durable than Gronk.
I wasn't taking that into consideration, but that's no question. Way more durable.
And you gotta have durability in this league. And if you can have durability like Kelsey, I mean, shoot, him and Patty Mahomes can light it up any given Sunday. And this is by far my favorite team right now to come out on top as Super Bowl champs.
So I mentioned Cousins and JJ probably solidify themselves as a top 3 connection. This is obviously one in Mahomes and Kelsey. I don't know who 2 would be right now, but I just couldn't say that Kirk and JJ were 2. It was something I was just doing at the top of my head, but they might
I
be
would have
2.
to give it. I would have to give, and if we're talking top 3, I would have to throw Allen and Diggs in there.
That was gonna be. I was like, you better not say 2 and Tyreek. I was gonna say Allen and Diggs is my 3. Other than that, it might be Burrow and Chase. I think those are your 4 contenders.
Yep, I would agree.
Anything else on this one?
No.
Cancun on 3 for the Rams. New Orleans at San Francisco. San Francisco has been so unique. I don't even know what to describe what I'm seeing from this team. One week they scored 33. The next week they scored 13 and should have lost the game. But I think 4 second halves in a row they have shut out their opponents. 57-0 combined score in those games. And Saints as a whole, they shut them out for the whole game. 13-0 was the final score. Kamara had 2 fumbles, 1 on the goal line. San Francisco, bend but don't break, but then they'll break you in return, man. This team is tough. We talked about it last week. They've been there before. They're experienced. They're not scared. They don't care if it's 7-6 with 2 minutes left. They'll find a way to do it.
Bro, the San Francisco defense just flies around. And
it's so fast.
They're so violent, bro. Like,
they look like Georgia Bulldogs.
I'm telling you right now, DeMeco Ryans will be a head coach next year.
If he wants to be, he should be.
He deserves it. I think he needs to be. What he's done with his defense is just crazy. I know he took it over from Robert Saleh, but I think DeMeco's, put his stamp on this defense for sure.
Mm-hmm.
What scares me, I know he'll be back at some point, but Elijah Mitchell being out 6 to 8 weeks is tough. Puts a lot of pressure on McCaffrey, who is also injury prone.
Yeah.
When they're healthy, I think this is arguably the best 1-2 punch in the backfield in the NFL. But, they are prone to getting banged up a lot, and I think you need all your playmakers healthy on that side of the ball with this team as frequently as possible, because you got a guy like Jimmy G who is very good in this offense, puts up decent numbers, but you know what you're going to get. He's not going to light it up. He relies on his guys to go out there and make plays for him. But that's where Shanahan comes into play, is he can scheme up multiple different things that you haven't seen yet, and that's why they win so much. But I think what it really comes down to is just how good this defense is, and that's why I've said, like, Dallas isn't going to – I mean, you saw what they did against the Niners in the playoffs last year. They ain't going to do anything to them differently this year.
Nope. Especially without a playmaker on the outside and Amari Cooper. I would take San Francisco very comfortably in that game, I think. For this one, though, I mean, New Orleans had, 332 game scoring streak before it was snapped. That was almost a 21-year span. San Francisco offense does worry me. The Elijah Mitchell injury does worry me. Being out till playoff time, that's a concern because, like you said, CMC has not been able to stay healthy for his career. Debo, they might have to utilize him more in their running back role like they were last year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like I mentioned last week, though, Ayuk has been showing up this year. So maybe they can find – I mean, if there's one guy in the league who I'm not going to question finding productivity on the offensive side of the ball, it's Shanahan. He finds a way to do it with him and Andy Reid are masterminds on that side of the ball.
And I think that's why they brought McCaffrey in, is because they know – I think everyone knows McCaffrey is not built to carry a big workload anymore. And
they're smart. They're not giving them the ball 30 times a game.
Yeah. I mean, they keep these guys fresh, and they spread it around very well. That's why I think if I had to choose an NFC Championship matchup, it would be Eagles and 49ers. That would be fireworks, I think.
It's a good clash of styles. Both teams can run. Both teams have good depth. Both teams play good defense. They have just enough weapons and a quarterback that you have just enough confidence in to not lose you the game. A.J. Brown versus Debo would be great. Goddard versus Kittle would be great. That'd be a fun matchup for sure. Wrapping up Week 12, well, Sunday of Week 12, we have Green Bay on the road at Philly. Going down 13-0 early. I was at a Friendsgiving, so I didn't get to see too much of this one. But next time I looked at the TV, they were up 14-13. I said, oh, shit, I'm going to see y'all later. I got to go down to the room and watch this. Aaron Rodgers, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks, ends up leaving the game with an oblique injury. Couple that on, pair that with his thumb injury. Might be a guy who might be missing the rest of the season if this team is not in playoff contention. I think the story coming out of this game, though, was Philly. We just talked about them being a good matchup for the 49ers because of some of the things they do. They ran the fuck out the ball against the Packers last night. Jalen Hurts, I think, was over 150 passing and rushing. I don't know if we've ever seen that before. I can't say that I can remember a time I've seen that. Maybe Lamar's done it.
I got you the stat right here.
Oh, let me hear it.
Jalen Hurts is the first player with 150-plus rushing yards, 150-plus passing yards, and multiple passing touchdowns in a single game since 1950.
70 years? Who the hell did it back then?
I don't know. I just know.
Damn. Hey, that's history, man.
And he was 20 yards away from Justin Fields' record.
His record? Damn, that was quiet. Like I said, man, this is the way the quarterbacks is going to go, man. Under 200 yards, and if you can run, they're going to run you. If you're not a lanky guy, I think that's the way a lot of these teams are going to go. I think Jordan Love, if he ends up finishing out this season, they're going to use him in a similar fashion as they use the Justin Fields, as they wanted to use the Trey Lance, as they're using the Jalen Hurts. But not to get too far ahead of myself in that aspect. What'd you think about this game, though?
It was one of the few times I was pulling for a Green Bay win just to help us out.
Yeah, you guys are right there, man. It's going to be a hell of a battle.
But, I just, from the jump, though, I was like, from the jump, when kickoff happened and Eagles got the ball, I was like, dude, Hurts is on one tonight. Like, the way he was taking off up the middle with the ball, that's what I like about Hurts is he's very smart with the football. Like he knows when not to throw it, when to use his legs.
I like that he was taking control of the game too after they had a loss and a slow start against Indy.
Yeah, and Hurts isn't like the fastest guy in the world, but
he glides.
Yeah, he just fun to watch when he runs the ball, and he's he's not brittle by any means either. I mean, he can put pads down and run you over, and so that's for me,
kind of what I was trying to say. I didn't really articulate myself too well. That's what I was meaning to say.
I think we know what we're gonna get with the Eagles. It's just you got to be at your best when you're playing them. You have to be, and. It's clear as day how much they miss Goddard out there. That's just a fact. Like
it is.
And I thought the game might have been when AJ Brown fumbled that ball. I was like, okay, we got ourselves a game here.
Was that the Quay Walker touchdown? The fumble 6.
Did he get to the end zone?
I thought he did.
I swear I think he got to the red zone, but
okay.
Yeah, because Quay Walker, he doesn't have a touchdown, so
okay.
But he got to, I forgot where he went down to. It was inside the red zone. I know that for sure, but I thought, and we did have a game for a little bit, but then it's just the Packers defense couldn't do anything.
They couldn't do it. Nah, they just couldn't hold up.
And whoever was talking Green Bay up all offseason about having the best defense in the league, I don't know what you were looking at or what you were going off of, but I haven't seen it all year. They show spurts, but it's not there. Like for me, it's just But
Yeah, the 24th.
40 to 33, bro.
40 points was surprising. I didn't think Philly was capable of doing that without Goddard.
No, and that's what kind of surprised me too. But I think what they surprised me with is, I mean, they only scored 13 in the second half, but they kind of took their momentum and kept their momentum throughout the second half. You know, they didn't disappear or go away like they have before this season. So that was, that was a good sign. But at the same time, I don't know, man. Giving your defense that is supposed to be super good in Philly, giving up 33 points to the Packers, that's worrisome. Like I'm very skeptical of this Philly defense right now. And even compared to Dallas's, compared to 49ers, I don't know if this Eagles defense can hold up. And then I don't know the severity of Gardner Johnson's injury, but him going out is huge.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen. I mean, it's only the second game with them there, but I'm not seeing much of Sue and Linval that was supposed to be so great because they haven't stopped the run that well.
That'll take a month or so.
I don't know. It's just I think the Eagles they're gonna be who they are. I don't think they're not gonna light anyone up or dismantle you by any means. It might feel that way, but the scoreboard will say otherwise. I think.
Yeah.
They just kind of take control of the game and chew that clock is really what they like to do.
Yeah, they're methodical and efficient. A whole bunch of jab punches.
But I think what really helped them out the first half of the season is throughout the first 8 games, they only had 3 turnovers. That was huge.
Mm-hmm. They had more than that in the loss, I think, and then couple that with 2 against Indy. I don't know what they did last night, if they were able to stay clean or not. But
AJ had that fumble for sure.
Yep, the fumble for sure. I think Hurts might have threw a pick as well. If I remember correctly.
He didn't.
He didn't.
No,
well, I'm all over the place on this game. It's a long season, everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of stats to keep up with.
That'll do it for me, though. I'm good if you are. Right now, we have Pittsburgh up 6-0 against Indianapolis. Second quarter.
Pittsburgh. I think I took them. I'm not sure.
I can't imagine I'd have took Indy.
We both took Pittsburgh because I remember we talked about Tomlin being the reason why.
I'm going to lie to myself. I'm not taking Indy. I took Denver and hate myself for that. Couldn't put up 12 points against Carolina, but whatever. I'm good on this one.
I'm good until the previews.
All right, sir. Until then, we appreciate y'all. Be easy.